Hello and welcome to Herein Lies the Peace of God in the Awakening Together Sanctuary. The Awakening Together Sanctuary is an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The host of Herein Lies the Peace of God is Reverend Jacquelyn and Eckert, the President Minister of Awakening Together. Our co-host is your favorite anarchist preacher, Reverend Glen Ganaway, interfaith scholar. The Course in Miracles says this about discerning one truth. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Sing glory, glory, hallelujah. How wonderful thy holy name. Now I can see with God's own vision, and I see peace instead of pain. Yes, I see peace instead of pain. I can see peace instead of pain. Amen.
Wee doggies.
I know we have roles and traditions, don't we?
Yeah, I almost forgot that one tonight.
I know. Thank you for saying I looked like a Boy Scout. I'll take every single bit of that. I definitely will. Of course I will.
You're adorable, as always.
I do it on purpose. I'm actually trying. I'm working the adorable. Everything's like. I have no guile.
It's so funny.
There's no guile. I'm just thinking, you look like I don't know. Maybe you're doing 800 calls in your spare.
No. I'm just sitting here. I know with my.
Need some. It's a second job.
No, not a second job. Actually, I just. It's been so hot here today that I just got out of the lake an hour or so ago, and then ate, and here we are. So.
I don't get to say that. I haven't yet been able to say that sentence. I just got out of the lake. Haven't been able to say that one yet. Do
you all have one there in your property in Vermont?
We have a few ponds. Yes.
Well, ours, some people might call a pond, but it's not. It's a lake.
Well,
it's spring fed.
Okay, there you go. Ours are definitely ponds. It's runoff. So ours are definitely ponds. We're wrapping things up this week.
Yes,
Jacquelyn, and you're at a special place. You want to tell anybody anything about where you are? That you're not in your little cabin in the woods, as safe as you can be.
Oh, I am at my sister's cabin in southern Indiana, and I will be building my home here very soon. Is this what you're asking me about?
That's really exciting. I just want to say congratulations. So how much has changed for you and I since March of 2021 when we started doing this and meeting on a weekly basis and talking about they're talking about the manual for teachers?
It's shocking. It's really shocking how much has changed. I mean, not just in outer circumstances, but in certainly my reception of outer circumstances. I mean, everything feels different for me, and I know that you've gone through a lot of changes as well, and you've got some more big ones in store, right?
Yeah, this keeps. I'm beginning to think that maybe this process is a little, today for me, it's a little bit less about remembering to wake up and more about keeping the ball rolling. It's not remembering to, I'm not actually I'm not actually having to heal from stepping on rakes anymore. Would be you know, that I'm now in charge of. I can now contribute to pushing a little of my efforting is going to beneficial places now that it perhaps wasn't in the past.
Well, and I feel the same way, Glenn. It's it certainly feels like everything is done for me. Everything is done for me.
I know. I'd like to call this. I said this exact thing to Yolanda just a few hours ago, because this astounding thing has beginning to happen to me at work. We just had a 2022 audit, and I'm an accountant clerk, so I'm a spreadsheet junkie, and I have to balance checkbooks, and we did it for a year, and I mean, it's tedious, but it's necessary because it's a union. I have to make sure all this stuff does. This stuff you can see in my voice there's stress there because I've had to learn it. I've had to learn it and figure it out, and so I want you to know that this is the new thing. I had this kind of big slough away and during this time, and I go back to work and I'm just doing the spreadsheets and they're all done. They're all done. Everything is. I'm not even. It's like I'm not Jacquelyn, literally, I'm not doing it because I don't understand it that well.
Yeah. Don't you love that?
Really, really not doing it. I feel so it's like I'm like in the flow. It's like I'm not. I don't have to be in what Miss Abraham says all the time. Just get in the current and stop holding on where you are, and just get in the flow. And we talk about here about being in the flow.
Yeah.
And so this year and a couple of months of working with the Course in Miracles is not the course necessarily, but the manual. It's like how to do the flow, how to be more manage this flow state, because you're not in something. Maybe.
No, I absolutely agree, and I think you're talking about Abraham Hicks, right? When
yes. I'm sorry, my moniker for Abraham.
But I think that's absolutely right on. It's like, well, and somebody asked me a few years back, in fact, when I did the teaching, and they're like, what's the one thing you would say to people, or whatever, or what do you think enlightenment's about, or awakening's about? And it's about getting out of the way. I told them that then, and it just becomes more and more obvious every day. So like you said, just let go of the bank is another way to say it, but it's just getting out of the way.
Yeah. Recognizing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence.
Right.
And then she says, it's your inheritance. It's already by your existence and awareness, even it's so safe. You can't not eventually get it. It's so absolutely safe. And I've realized doing it's funny how I'm sure with your teachings as well as mine that there's synchronicities. We kind of brought this up last week, but synchronicities with what you're teaching in a particular week, and the synchronicities that happened with what the manual was telling was going over.
Absolutely, and that's my experience with all of these teachings. And so if you're looking at 5 things, they're all 5 saying the same thing. That author and that author and that author, they're all saying the same things. And it's just it's a lovely dance to watch, just that synchronicity of the universe. In fact, Sana was talking about something in last night's something we did last night. I don't even know what we did, or no, the night before. Yesterday it was during my program yesterday. And as I was reviewing the manual for teachers today, I'm like, oh wow, I'm so glad Sana's going to be there tonight, because we talked about this and we talked about this and we talked about this. So it's just, yeah, it's all synchronistic, and that's how it's true.
And the big we're gonna do a formal kind of like go through this. I'm sure here in a minute, here really kind of looking at this in a more formal kind of review. But it's just become evidently clear. I mean, that this teaching and learning experience, getting this, for me, the getting out of the way, the doorway into that is the teaching and learning experience, as opposed to what the hopeless and closed learning center.
I love that. Looks like me. Hello, Hopeless and Closed Learning Center. May I help you?
I know. Yes, looking for the teaching learning experience. I've never heard of him. The person with the line is like, never heard of him. It's like, do I want to be am I? And I keep saying this in the class is interesting. The where I've landed is it's like, I want to be here. I'm interested. Sold. I'm on existence, or awareness, or whatever you want to call it. Or as lovely say Rhoda says, love your consciousness. Which is what we've been doing. It's like, there's method there, and the course says over and over and over again, because you can use the scientific principle if you'll pay attention and if it does require honesty, but you can test these ideas out, but it requires honesty for you to really say, to evaluate the results of the conditions, and and what is the manual for teachers but helping us create the conditions for getting out of the way, to be able to recognize just getting out of the way.
Who's that cutie that just came in the room? Any idea?
No, it's another Yolanda.
Oh, there could be no such thing.
Helps me hear better. Okay.
Yes.
There we go.
Very good.
Little laptop back there. So why don't you take the first? We started on a review. Do you want to take a look at? I think it was 16. Was it 16 through 29? Or how did you prepare? How did you?
I'm not sure what. I'm like, Actually, it's funny, because how did I prepare? I was going through the manual. Thank you, Tina. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I was going through the manual, and I was highlighting my highlights.
As we do.
What do you want, honey? Yes, thank you. And I mean, just bare bones. It's just so poetic.
Thank you.
So yes. She agreed. It's poetry.
Converted you.
You have converted me, but just the introduction was shockingly profound. And if you don't mind, and Sana, I'd like for Sana, because we were just talking about this. I think she'll appreciate this, but I'm just going to read like 3 or 4 sentences. I'm going to read the highlights of my highlights from the introduction. It says, to teach is to learn, so teacher and learner are the same. Teaching is a constant process. It goes on every moment of the day. To teach is to demonstrate. There are only 2 thought systems, and you demonstrate that you believe one or the other is true all the time. From your demonstration, others learn, and so do you. You cannot give to someone else, and this you learn through teaching. Teaching is but a call to witnesses to attest to what you believe. Any situation must be to you a chance to teach others what you are and what they are to you. The curriculum that you set up is therefore determined exclusively by what you think you are and what you believe the relationship of others is to you. The verbal content of your teaching is quite irrelevant. It is the teaching underlying what you say that teaches you. teaching but reinforces what you believe about yourself. Its fundamental purpose is to diminish self-doubt. Everyone who follows the world's curriculum, and everyone here does follow it until he changes his mind, teaches solely to convince himself that he is what he is not. Herein is the purpose of the world. This is a manual for the teachers of God. They are not perfect, or they would not be here. Yet it is their mission to become perfect here, and so they teach perfection over and over in many, many ways until they've learned it. I mean, that's poetry, right?
And again, if I'm hearing the bodhisattva vows in almost every passage, like over and over and over again, I'm going to get myself together because it's important to do, just because that's the only thing there's to do, you know. So, go. This is what, you know, just.
Well, and again, I'm going to go, after having read that part of the introduction, I just want to say that many moons ago, I wrote here in the margins, the teaching of the world is to teach you that you're limited. What you have to teach yourself instead is that you are not limited. We talked yesterday in the program. I was talking about that somewhere in here in A Course in Miracles, it says the function of the miracle worker is the denial of truth. This world being the denial of truth, and that's realizing that that's what this world is forgiveness, is the atonement. All right, you tell me what you want to tell me, and then I told you how this was supposed to go. You're supposed to teach, and I'm supposed to heckle you.
No, this is.
You know that's how this goes.
I know. I want to listen. This is the kind of, like, you know, when you keep hearing, let's say, maybe the analogy would be, you have a band that you know all of their songs. That you know all their songs to, you're 2-3 notes into it, you're like, you know,
yeah.
Crosby, Stills and Nash, or like that's the Eagles, or that's
right, yeah.
You know, for some reason, and even songs that you have only heard like twice, and they're B-sides of something, you've three notes into it, and you
know who it is, yeah,
and you know it is because you're so familiar with. It's just like the whole teaching coming into like one thing. It's not desperate songs. It's synthesizes into something else, and that I hear it in your voice. I hear it in, you know, commercial bits and pieces of the working with the principles in this commercial, or the misuse or you know, it's like I hear it in people's voices. It's not desperate. It's not this teaching or that teaching. It's not Ramana Maharshi or Jesus, or it's this new sort of idea, well, new for me, new kind of idea of this synthesis of seeing truth as like one thing, and not explained in different ways, but it's really one experience. Although I learned the description in Ramana Maharshi, I learned the description in A Course in Miracles, I learned the description in Ecclesiastes, I learned whatever it was, you know, Gurdjieff and Webster and you know, all these, you know, people, Krishnamurti, and, you know, all my tantric studies. Those aren't desperate systems anymore.
Disparate, not disparate.
See, Yolanda's always reminding me I do this thing backwards. So congratulations, Yolanda. You know, disparate. So it's like they're the one. It's like to see the connection between them is just really,
it's amazing.
Sort of, you know, it's like, and that's happened because of that very thing. It's like this teaching and learning thing. Are you interested? Are you going to be here for the lesson? Are you gonna, you know?
Yeah, exactly. What are you paying attention to? Are you paying attention to the world whose sole purpose is to convince you that you are what you're not?
You're little.
Yeah, or that you're little, that you're limited, you're lacking. and that yeah, and that if you want anything, you have to sacrifice, and so you're in, you know, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, that's what's taught. That's what the thinking mind teaches.
That is a system of society, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, so we want me to read you the highlights of who are God's teachers?
Please, please go. I should, you know, I will try to limit point counterpoint until the end.
Well, let's see. Of course, it's the description is just that first paragraph. A teacher of God is anyone who chooses to be one. We could stop there, I guess. But a teacher of God is anyone who chooses to be one. His qualifications consist solely in this. Somehow, somewhere, he has made a deliberate choice in which he did not see his interests as apart from someone else's. Once he's done that, his road is established and his direction is sure. He has entered an agreement with God. The call is universal. It goes on all the time, everywhere. The content of the course never changes. Its central theme is always God's Son is guiltless, and in his innocence is his salvation. This is a manual for a special curriculum intended for teachers of a special form of the universal course. There are many thousands of other forms, all with the same outcome. There was never a question of outcome, for what can change the will of God? Time has an ending, and it is this that the teachers of God are appointed to bring about. Yay!
I know.
It's simple. It's easy peasy.
Thousands of ways to do thousands.
There's thousands of ways to do this, and regardless of the path that you choose, the outcome is certain. How can it not be? Because the belief that there's something other than the one thing going on here, that is the belief in guilt. That is the illusion. That is this world goes, oh, you're guilty, you're lacking, you know, you're limited, you're lacking, you're guilty. That's what the world says. And so of course there's only one curriculum, and the curriculum is don't believe that. It's really simple. It's frankly really, the teaching is really simple. It's the application that teaches it to you, and that's what that first the introduction said, right? You're teaching something all the time. What are you teaching? Are you continuing to teach yourself what the world says? You're lacking, you're limited, you're small. I mean, all of those things. Or are you stepping beyond that into the truth of what you are? Are you looking straight at that thing that says you're lacking and going, no, I'm not. All is well. All is well. And the end is certain. And what more? Again, so it's simple, but to look at this, you know, if I don't do something, here's the story. If I don't do something, I'm going to suffer. I'm going to have to sacrifice. And so in the face of that voice that says you're going to have to suffer and sacrifice, you walk out in full, and which is why trust is the bedrock of all of the characteristics of the teachers of God. You have to trust that that's true and not what your eyes and ears and senses tell you in this world. You're trusting a benevolent universe. You're trusting that what A Course in Miracles or a similar curriculum says is true. You have to walk out in trust, because if you don't teach it to yourself, you're not going to learn it. And what you are going to learn is what these eyes say, these ears say, and what past experience seems to have taught.
Go for it. You've only got time to, you know, you got plenty. Go for it. Whatever it is that you're interested. You know, a friend of mine said, you know what your practice is? The one that you'll do.
Amen.
It's like, let's not get specific. Let's not go overhaul. It's like, really go for and practice what you say that you want. And if you can't, look into why you can't, you know, and then keep going.
Exactly.
That's the learn why.
Remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Yep. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, the block. Absolutely. You know, please continue. We've got 30 minutes.
Look at you. You're funny. Okay, let's look some more. So let's talk about who are their pupils. You want to talk about who the pupils are? We've learned about who are God's teachers, and now we're going to talk about who are their pupils. Certain pupils have been assigned to each of God's teachers, and they will begin to look for him as soon as he has answered the call. Time waits on his choice, but not whom he will serve. When he's ready, the opportunities to teach will be provided for him. Atonement corrects illusions. It corrects what never was. The plan for this correction was established and completed simultaneously, for the will of God is entirely apart from time. The instant the idea of separation entered the mind of God's Son, in that same instant was God's answer given. Though choices made long ago appear to be open, yet to be made, but because your will is free, you can accept what has already happened at any time you choose, and only then will you realize that it was always there. So even this concept of, oh, it's going to take me some time, because I'm used to doing things this way or being this way or whatever. Even that is part of the illusion. And the ego is greatly insulted when you tell it, oh, all you have to do, it won't take any time at all. Because the ego's like, really, I've been doing this for 40 years. Don't tell me it won't take any time. But even that is an illusion, that it takes time. All it takes is the acceptance that what you're seeing here, what you're experiencing here, was meant to show you something other than the truth. And that the truth is whole and the truth is one. And I am that. That's it. I mean, that's the curriculum, right?
And it's provable. It's like, go take some action on it. You can prove this stuff is, and prove this stuff is true. Whatever your reactions to the ideas may be, use them. Use them. Do it. Then prove me wrong. Oh yeah, it doesn't work. Then show me it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And get out here and be nice to everybody and be kind and clean up all your stuff and be and increase your powers of empathy for the world, and see if that doesn't work out for you. Just try it. Be the Bodhisattva vows. Just try, see what happens.
Amen. Amen. And then the same section talks about joining together. It says the teacher's not really the one who does the teaching. I love that. God's teacher speaks to any two who join together for learning purposes. The relationship is holy because of that purpose, and God has promised to send his spirit into any holy relationship. In the teaching learning situation, each one learns that giving and receiving are the same. Those who would learn the same course share one interest and one goal, and thus he who was the learner becomes a teacher of God himself, for he has made the one decision that gave his teacher to him. He has seen in another person the same interest as his own. Full circle. It's just
said it again. See, empathy, oneness, the no separation, not just like me and God. No separation means no separation. It's like I'm connected to God a little bit more than you. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
The important.
Don't take it personally. I've been doing this for 40 years.
I know. So he's like, that's the lesson this weekend that I'm going to be teaching. It's like you get everything, and and if you want it for everyone, if you want littleness for anyone, you can't have it. If you want suffering for anyone, it can't. It just isn't.
Well, I was just reading that, Glenn, when we were looking at the stages that the teacher of God goes through, the stages of trust. It talks about the fact that the teacher of God doesn't want anything that can't be given away, because therein lies suffering. Right?
There might be a political philosophy to here too, but I won't go into.
No, don't do that. Don't run it, Glenn.
It might be.
All right. I think I opened up with that poetry, and I think it's your turn.
Oh no, this is going too well. As I like to do, what I've done is like I went through the chapters that we haven't been over, and I went and like looked at chapter 16 or chapter 16 to the thing and tried to create an arc and see what, moving through like the way she builds the second half of the course. We did the review on the first half of course, but that is what we're doing, is looking at the review of the whole thing. That's exactly what we're doing. So I'm willing to jettison the two-part thing that I had, and let you keep going, because this is working out, because you're showcasing a little bit more of quotes than I would have quoted.
Mm-hmm.
So the quotes are important to me. So I like, actually like that. If you don't,
Fair enough. That's great.
Don't mind. I think this is a format that's going to be beneficial for both of us.
Cool.
And,
well, of course. I mean, how could it benefit one and not benefit everyone? In fact, it
just
says
say
that in here.
Did I just say that? You have to practice it. You really have to practice it.
All right. So the next question that's asked is, what are the levels of teaching? So I'll read you the highlights of the highlights from that chapter. There's no one from whom a teacher of God cannot learn, so there is no one whom he cannot teach. There are no accidents in salvation. Those who are to meet will meet, because together they have the potential for a holy relationship. They are ready for each other. Even at the level of the most casual encounter, it is possible for two people to lose sight of separate interests, if only for a moment. That moment will be enough. Salvation has come. Levels of teaching the universal course is a concept as meaningless in reality as is time. The illusion of one permits the illusion of the other. Any level of the teaching learning situation is part of God's plan for atonement. Salvation is always ready and always there. God's teachers work at different levels, but the result is always the same. Each teaching learning situation is maximal in the sense that each person involved will learn the most that he can from the other person at that time. So she talked about casual encounters as the first level. The second level is the more sustained relationship, in which for a time two people enter into a fairly intense teaching learning situation and then appear to separate. And the third level of teaching occurs in relationships which, once they're formed, are lifelong. Each person, and this is if you're in a relationship like this might sound like not so much as a blessing but a curse. Each person is given a chosen learning partner who presents him with unlimited opportunities for learning. Sorry.
Yeah. That's what's written
Connie says.
Yeah. That's what's written on Yolanda and I's wedding bed. You're my unlimited opportunity to grow. Not really.
It is true. It is true. Yeah, but I really appreciated the levels of teaching being meaningless as time, but only because you believe in time. It seems like there's different levels. So you got the really short thing, you got the little bit more sustained thing, and then you got the forever thing, right? Yeah. So I don't know.
And there aren't levels of importance.
She does not talk about levels of importance. She talks about duration.
Right. So
because they're each maximal. Yes.
Each is maximal. So that one encounter with the one person, the only time that you're ever going to, meet this person or whatever is auspicious. It's all auspicious.
It's lovely.
That's what the Buddhists say, auspicious.
I love it.
You are an auspicious occasion. That's what they say. I love that. That's right up there with love your God.
You are.
Yeah. When you greet somebody, it's like, you're saying, oh, don't you realize that I've never met you. So this is an auspicious, No, you are, Yolanda says. No, you are.
Fair enough. Well, and of course, then the next chapter is what are the characteristics of God's teachers? Shall we look at those?
We should.
It does say God gives special gifts to his teachers, but that's only temporary. Says these special gifts born in the holy relationship toward which the teaching learning situation is geared become characteristics of all teachers of God who have advanced in their own learning. In this respect, they're all alike. Trust. Trust is the foundation on which their ability to fulfill their function rests. The teachers of God have trust in the world because they've learned it is not governed by the laws the world made up. And isn't that what we just talked about, right? The world can't tell you what it is or what you are, because it was made to be upside down and backwards and teach you what you are not.
It can't. Time is not linear.
It is governed by a power. It is governed by a power which is in them, the teachers of God, but not of them. It is this power that keeps all things safe. It is through this power that the teachers of God look on a forgiven world. And she says we begin to get this. We make this shift from the who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle has been given them. Who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of the ego when the gifts of God are laid before him? What is it that induces them to make the shift? And that's where she gives us the stages of trust. First, they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. It seems as if things are being taken away. It's rarely understood initially that their lack of value is merely being recognized. The teacher of God is not yet at a point at which he can make the shift entirely internally. So Holy Spirit shakes it up a little bit and changes your outward circumstances. Those are my words. That's what it says here. If you're not going to get it just, sitting in your cave. So Holy Spirit shakes it up. He's not yet at a point which he can make the shift entirely internally. And so the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seem to be external circumstances. These changes are always helpful. When the teacher of God has learned that much, he goes on to the second stage. Next, the teacher of God must go through a period of sorting out. He must now decide all things on the basis of whether they increase the helpfulness or hamper it. He will find that many, if not most, of the things he valued before will merely hinder his ability to transfer what he has learned to new situations as they arise. And I also thought that was cool because you might remember, Sana, yesterday we spent a lot of time talking about transfer of training, right? So you get it, but now can you go out there and live it, really? Can you transfer that training? So again, and if you're relying on what you think you know about the world, you're not getting out of the way. You're not going to be able to transfer that training. You're going, oh no, I know how this goes. Mm-hmm. So again, he will find that many, if not most, of the things he valued before will merely hinder his ability to transfer what he has learned to new situations as they arise. It is only to the extent to which circumstances are helpful that any degree of reality should be accorded them in this world of illusion. The word value can apply to nothing else. The third stage to which the teachers of God must go can be called a period of relinquishment. The third step is rarely, if ever, begun until the second one is complete. Therefore, the period of overlap is apt to be one in which the teacher of God feels called upon to sacrifice his own best interest on behalf of truth. He has not realized as yet how wholly impossible such a demand would be. He can learn this only as he actually does give up the valueless. Yeah, so it feels like sacrifice because it's like, I'm pretty sure that's valuable. No, give it up anyway.
But it's the doing of it. Well, my experience for me is I change my mind, or I get a better handle on a principle. And then I'm no longer to engage. I don't see the world as the same, and I make different decisions. So I end up going, having a different flow or whatever like that because I'm making different decisions. My mind's in a different place. The thing that doesn't catch I'm not getting triggered and stuff like that. So, yes.
Yeah, you learn by doing, exactly. And this.
Do it.
This says exactly that. It says he feels like he's going to be called to sacrifice his own best interest on behalf of truth, which, you know, is impossible. But it says he has not realized as yet how wholly impossible such demand would be. He can learn this only as he actually does give up the valueless. Through this, he learns that where he anticipated grief, he finds a happy lightheartedness instead. Where he thought something was asked of him, he finds a gift bestowed on him every time. It doesn't say every time. I say every time. Every time.
She says, if you realize the purpose of your obstacles and your fear, if the purpose of them was to give you a gift, you would run toward them. You know?
Yes.
Just
give me my gift. Give me my gift.
There's a gift. There's a pony in here somewhere. The meme goes.
The next period is a period of settling down, in which the teacher of God rests a while in reasonable peace. He consolidates his learning. He begins to see the transfer value of what he has learned. The teacher of God is now at the point in his progress at which he sees in it his whole way out. That's just great. And it's like, oh my God, I get it. He begins to see in it his whole way out. And she says it this way too. She's got exclamation points and quotations mark. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do.
Oh,
how simple is the obvious and how easy to do. Go ahead.
Oh, but no, that's a journey. Isn't it the journey? I mean, letting things move away, and as you change your mind and you get clear about some things, other things that you were maintaining that you didn't really know you were maintaining, as you stop maintaining them, like start to recede, and you're like going, oh.
I want more of that. Yeah. I want more of that.
You know, it's exactly.
The suffering begins to fall away. The suffering begins to fall away, at least in the little things. And then from there, you're able to transfer the training, some more, but you're not suffering in all the little things. You're not suffering in all the little slights and the thing that girl said, and so didn't call me, and I didn't get what I wanted at work. And that stuff begins to fall away, and you go, this is good stuff. I got to get me some more.
Skills development.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yes, you know.
Let's see. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. How simple is the obvious. When he's ready to go on, he goes with mighty companions beside him. Now he rests a while and gathers them before going on. He will not go on from here alone. The next stage is a period of unsettling. Now must the teacher of God understand that he did not really know what was valuable and what was valueless. All he really learned so far was that he did not want the valueless and that he did want the valuable. And I love this. The idea of sacrifice, so central to his thought system, had made it impossible for him to judge. Now he must attain a state that may remain impossible for a long, long time. He must learn to lay all judgment aside and ask only what he really wants in every circumstance. That's what you get to. Regina talks about this in terms of you identify the source of a thought, and you know whether or not you want it once you've identified the source. It's the same thing. What do I really want? I want to listen only to the voice that likes me. And this other voice that says, oh, I'll keep you safe. I know what's supposed to happen now, blah, 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 blah. That is not what I want.
I know. There's no data that shows that.
Prove it to me, like you said.
It doesn't. There's failure after failure after failure after failure after failure if you're willing to look at it and change your mind quickly. You know. Well,
and I love that. And, Paul Hederman talks about that all the time. Sana talks about that too. What can a failed system show you? That it's a failed system. Yeah. That's all it can show you, that it's a failed system. So failure after failure after failure, based on listening to that one that gives you all that great advice. It's not great advice. It is the cause of your suffering. What do I truly want? I want to listen to the voice that likes me. And again, just a couple chapters back here, we looked at you're always teaching one of two thought systems.
I know. Two kingdoms.
That's right. Two kingdoms.
Choosing two kingdoms, you know. Building two worlds.
And the next stage in the building of trust is a period of achievement. It's here that learning is consolidated. Now what was seen as merely shadows before becomes solid gains to be counted on in all emergencies as well as tranquil times. Indeed, tranquility is their result, the outcome of honest learning, consistency of thought, and full transfer. This is the stage of real peace, for here is heaven's state fully reflected.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. And it's not because I went out and, you know, built a better mousetrap. It's not because I did a better machine. It's because I let go, of my beliefs about what's going on here, what I am, what the world is, and what you are. All I've done is let go of the stuff that was getting in the way.
Of defining everything.
That's all. I've just let go of that, of defining everything. And that's exactly what she just talked about when she talked about letting go of judgment. That's defining everything. I have defined everything. That's what judgment is.
It turns out we're not good at it. You know?
We suck at it.
we're like, you know, but, you know, turns out we all got it. You know, we're given these communication devices we were created, you know.
So the next characteristics of God's teachers is honesty. All other traits of God's teachers rest on trust. Once that's achieved, the others cannot fail to follow. Mm-hmm. She says in introducing honesty, only the trusting can afford honesty, for only they can see its value. But let me just say that we said that when we started talking about trust. We're talking about, do you believe what your senses are telling you, knowing that this world was created to show you the opposite of truth? Or do you just simply trust that it's a benevolent universe and that what your eyes and ears and senses are telling you and what this guy's saying in your head, that none of that is true? That's trust. That's why trust has to be established first. You've got to come to a place where you can go, I can trust this. I can trust it. I can afford to stick my neck out. I can afford to step where it doesn't seem firm footing, mm-hmm. because I trust.
Mm-hmm. And it's just determining how far, you know, what bottom do you want to have, or how much suffering, or what's it going to take, or what kind of learning situation has to happen, you know. For me, it was like, how many rakes, you know, to keep my metaphor, how many rakes are you willing to like
step on?
You're willing to let me show you how to not do that. You know?
Yeah. Okay, so in defining honesty, she says it doesn't apply to only what you say. The term actually means consistency. There's nothing that you say that contradicts what you think or do. No thought opposes any other thought. No act belies your word, and no word lacks agreement with another. Such are the truly honest. At no level are they in conflict with themselves. Therefore, it's impossible for them to be in conflict with anyone or anything. And so it's that honesty, and it's not saying watch your step. You're really messing up if you're not, because it could sound, because interpreted with ego, it sounds very constricting, but it's not. It's just like step out, act on your trust.
Integrity.
That's right.
Build and live from your glorious integrity as the child of God. Live from your, that place, You don't have to be, yeah. I'll just leave it there.
The next characteristic of the teachers of God is tolerance. This is where it talks about judgment. You remember we talked about this a while back. God's teachers do not judge. Judgment without self-deception is impossible. Judgment implies a lack of trust, and trust remains the bedrock of the teacher of God's whole thought system. Without judgment are all things equally acceptable. Without judgment are all men brothers. Judgment destroys honesty and shatters trust.
I'm writing that down for a tweet later.
Very good. The next characteristic is gentleness. She says harm is impossible for God's teachers. Harm is the outcome of judgment. It is a verdict of guilt upon a brother and therefore on oneself. It is the end of peace and the denial of learning. No teacher of God but must learn, and fairly early in his training, that harmfulness completely obliterates his function from his awareness. Therefore, God's teachers are wholly gentle. You know, it's the trust that I don't have to go out and get mine, that what's mine will come to me, right? I just need to get out of the way. It's trust that there's not a limited amount to go around, that it's an abundant universe. Oh, it's trust that all things are exactly as they are. That's where gentleness comes from. That's where lack of harm comes from. It's trusting. How could you harm anybody if you're completely trusting in and dependent upon God's good graces? You know, I mean, God's good graces is all there is.
Yep, it's very true. That just get in the flow. Your integrity is how you do that. That's realizing that we're in a teaching and learning situation, and that you want to experience the best of, you know, not the best. I mean, this wording, this language I'm working. You know, you want to be working at your highest skill level, so that you know you can have the experience, the deepest level of peace that you. That's what's valuable. Peace is what I want.
That's right.
The peace is what's valuable to me. I want to, you know, improve my ability to experience that. You know that.
That's the only thing that's valuable.
That's the only thing that's valuable. So I can. How much effort or like this could be like fun and interesting and like not a chore, right? It could. It is actually. The more this trust happens, the funner absolutely that it gets. You know, that was my biggest obstacle. It's like, oh my God, if I become a spiritual person, I have watched what happened to these people in my life who became teachers of God. I have watched what has happened to their lives. It's not envious. You know? Yeah. I'm sure you can think of any number of cases where somebody turned to God and it didn't turn out so well for his family. You know, we can all think of. So it's like I have these examples of that's what my ego did to me. You know, but the more reality this takes. I mean, do the research. Like, put your data in. Is to like this actually does lead you in the direct if you're willing to realize what you want.
Yes, if you're willing to ask that in every situation, what do I want?
My God, what a habit to develop. What do I want? What do I value? You know, this is in chapter, you know, whatever. So it's like, this is the beginning.
Yeah, well, she just said it, yeah.
This is the foundational stuff. And it's an orientation. It's the way of looking at it's the raison d'etre of you're getting up in the morning and saying, and feeding your cat another day. You know, it's interesting. All of it's interesting. You know, it's crazy. Please continue. Well, I got 4 minutes.
Joy. Joy is the inevitable result of gentleness. The open hands of gentleness are always filled. The gentle have no pain. They cannot suffer. Why would they not be joyous? Joy goes with gentleness as surely as grief attends attack. And try that out. Look at your data on that one, because man, that data comes back pretty quick, pretty clearly.
Yeah, you can Google that one.
That's right. Everybody knows that one. Defenselessness.
Oh.
Is the next one. God's teachers have learned how to be simple. I love that. I hadn't seen that before this reading. That's the first sentence from defenselessness. God's teachers have learned how to be simple. They have no dreams that need defense against the truth. They do not try to make themselves. Their joy comes from their understanding who created them. And does what God created need defense? No one can become an advanced teacher of God until he fully understands that defenses are but the foolish guardians of mad illusions. And, you know, it often strikes me, it's just really funny because when you defend yourself, who are you defending? Who are you defending? You're defending that bumbling idiot who, who believes in conflict and attack. And why would you defend that one?
No. Realize early, agree with your enemy early. What's that whole thing? It's like, you know, agree early and like move. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, the next one, generosity. Let's see. Without trust, no one can be generous in the true sense. To the world, generosity means giving away in the sense of giving up. To the teachers of God, it means giving away in order to keep. The strangeness of that lies in the obviousness of its reversal of the world's thinking. In the clearest way possible and at the simplest of levels, the word means the exact opposite to the teachers of God and to the world. Again, it means giving away in order to keep. The teacher of God is generous out of self-interest. This does not refer, however, to the self the world speaks of. The teacher of God does not want anything he cannot give away because he realizes it would be valueless to him by definition. He does not seek what only he could keep because that is a guarantee of loss. He does not want to suffer. Why should he ensure himself pain? He does want to keep for himself all things that are of God and therefore for his son. These are the things that belong to him. These he can give away in true generosity, protecting them forever for himself. Oh my, we've got 1 minute left. I got 3 more characteristics. I will go ahead and read them. Patience. Patience is natural to the teacher of God. All he sees is certain outcome. Okay, faithfulness. The extent of the teacher of God's faithfulness is the measure of his advancement in the curriculum. Does he still select some aspects of his life to bring to his learning while keeping others apart? Faithfulness is the teacher of God's trust in the word of God to set all things right, not some, but all. To give up all problems to one answer is to reverse the thinking of the world entirely, and that alone is faithfulness. Woo! And finally, open-mindedness. Open-mindedness is easily understood when its relation to forgiveness is recognized. Open-mindedness comes with lack of judgment. As judgment shuts the mind against God's teacher, so open-mindedness invites him to come in. Only the open-minded can be at peace, for they alone see the reason for it. And forgiveness is the final goal of the curriculum. It paves the way for what goes far beyond all learning. The curriculum makes no effort to exceed its legitimate goal. Forgiveness is its single aim at which all learning ultimately converges. It is indeed enough. And you can see how it's so lovely that that ends with forgiveness and it started us with trust, because it's the same thing. Forgiveness is overlooking what appears to be and trusting that it's all one, it's all good, it's all God.
And that's worth trusting because it does work out. This moment is your home, like Yolanda says. This isn't rocket science. Each and every one of us were built to do that if we're willing to look at what we've been saying all day. What are you interested in? What
do you want?
What is this thing that you're pursuing? What's the thing that's going to say? What's the avenue? What's satisfying to you? I'll guarantee you it'll be some form of peace. It'll be to teach peace. That's what she's saying. You find out what you have endless energy to do and forgive the world for not supporting you like you think it should. Then do it anyway. You know?
Let's say real quick what our plans are. Our plans are to come back and teach after Labor Day. Sana and I figured out that date. Do you remember what it was, Sana? Is the 18th?
Okay.
I think it was in September. So let me skip to September. It could have been the 8th, but let me double check. It is the 8th.
There you
Ooh.
go. Very good.
Well, hey.
That's very impressive. Very impressive. So right now the plan is to come back September the 8th. And do you want to talk about what we want to teach?
No, let's keep going.
What do you mean keep going? Stop.
No, I have only read this book 3 times, and I've cover to cover, and I've never taught it. So there's my introduction. So what do you think it is?
What are we going to teach? Anybody know? Everybody in this room knows because I already told Sana, and I'm sure Yolanda knows. We're going to teach Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament, which is being taught, frankly, in other programs. But I somehow sense that this will be a different take on that.
Okay, I suspect.
Yeah, I look at Sana, she's like, yeah.
Let's find out let's find out. So we haven't discussed a format, and this, if we do it at the pace that we did a Course of Miracles, it's or the Manual for Teachers, I think the totals, if I'm right, it was 7 years.
Well, I love you, Glenn. I don't know if I love you 7 years worth.
I'm saying, it was like just to do the section equivalent to the word count of Manual for Teachers, to go with that past.
We'll
I don't
figure it
think
out.
it's 7 years, but it's something along the same punchline. Okay,
We will figure it out, and
we
it
love
will
you.
be great.
Can't
We
wait-
love you.
wait to
Thank
see
you
them.
all for being here with us all this time and for putting up with us and allowing us to teach what we would learn. Thank you.
You've been listening to Herein Lies the Peace of God with Reverend Jacquelyn Eckert and Reverend Glen Ganaway. To find out more about Jacquelyn and to donate to Awakening Together Sanctuary, go to www.awakening-together.org. To find out more about Glen and to donate to the Mighty Companions Ministries, go to www.glenganaway.com. That's GLENGANAWAY.com.
I can see peace instead of pain. Amen.
Everybody, we love you.
Good night. Love you all.
Love you.
See you after the summer. See y'all this weekend.
Talk to you soon.